Hello, friends. President Biden has decided to step down from running for a second term. Let's talk about it.
Of the 2024 presidential race. In a stunning letter that was just released moments ago by his campaign on X, formerly known as Twitter, Biden wrote, quote, that it has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. He goes on to say that he will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about his decision. Just a stunning announcement from President Joe Biden that he intends to step down as a candidate in the 2024 election. I want to go straight to CNN White House correspondent Priscilla Alvarez, who was traveling with President Biden in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Priscilla, what are you learning?
Alex, this is a remarkable development, and it comes after a morning in which we heard more calls for the president to step down from members of his party, including, for example, Senator Joe Manchin. Now, the president in this letter released only moments ago walks through his accomplishments as president. And also, if I can read you this part, it says, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president." He goes on to say, while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. He goes on to say he plans to speak to the nation later this week. He also thanks Vice President Kamala Harris for, quote, being an extraordinary partner in all of this work. Now, of course, Alex, this comes after that disastrous debate performance by the president in late June. It was after that stoked so much anxiety and panic within the Democratic Party and led to a wave of calls over recent weeks for the president to step aside, to withdraw from this race. And this was something that, despite the president getting back on the campaign trail, despite private conversations with multiple lawmakers, and despite a campaign that up until this point had been maintained, even just yesterday, that he was in this race, it appears that we hit that breaking point. Now, of course, the president has been at his residence here in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. He has been self-isolating because he was diagnosed with COVID earlier in the week. It was that diagnosis that pulled him off of the campaign trail at a pivotal moment. He was in Nevada. He was shoring up support with Black and Latino voters. And it was before one of his last events that he got that positive COVID diagnosis and had to be blitzed back here to the East Coast, to Delaware, where he has since been self-isolating. It has been during that time that he's also been deliberating. He is with his closest advisors and his inner circle in what has been a challenging and at times frustrating time for this campaign. Now, we should also note, Alex, that earlier today on the airwaves, the president's allies were saying that he was in it to win it. Again, this was the resounding message that we were getting from the campaign time and time again. But this letter tells us that the president, upon self-reflection, upon all of the calls from Democratic lawmakers, allies, and donors for him to step aside, has listened to those calls and has decided to not seek re-election in what we really just cannot overstate how remarkable a moment this is. We are on the cusp of the Democratic National Convention. There have been ongoing calls to get that process underway for that virtual roll call. And now so many open-ended questions as to what happens next. We should note Vice President Kamala Harris was at a fundraiser in Massachusetts yesterday, where she too was focused on the vice presidential nominee for the Republicans, J.D. Vance. She was trying to gin up those donor dollars amid some donors deciding not to give money because of all the questions of this campaign. Of course, we'll keep eyes on her. She is in Washington, D.C. today. Many questions moving forward. But
in a surprising and unprecedented move, President Joe Biden announced on Sunday, July 21st, 2024, that he would not seek re-election, effectively ending his campaign for a second term in the White House. This decision comes amidst mounting pressure from within his own party and follows a series of events that have raised questions about his ability to effectively campaign and govern. President Biden's decision to step down was influenced by several factors. At 81 years old, Biden faced increasing scrutiny regarding his age and physical fitness, especially after a lackluster debate performance against former President Donald Trump in late June. His subsequent positive COVID-19 diagnosis further intensified these concerns. Prominent Democrats, including Rep. Lloyd Doggett of Texas and Senator Peter Welch of Vermont, were among the first to publicly urge Biden to reconsider his candidacy. Their concerns centered around Biden's ability to effectively campaign and his chances of defeating Trump in the upcoming election. Biden's performance in the debate against Trump was widely seen as weak and unconvincing. This performance exacerbated existing doubts about his mental acuity and ability to handle the rigors of a presidential campaign.